over here on this side, you made a statement earlier, Scott, about, you know, your different experiences, life experiences, that you come out with different conclusions maybe based on the same facts and circumstances. But so many times in the African-American community, we see things like this that'll happen. We say, well, the African-American person was treated a little bit different than the Caucasian person. And so, you know, there's that perception in the African-American community many times that justice is not fair, justice is not equal. How are you guys, both of you, going to address that particular situation and those particular perceptions? And we were looking at some consistent treatment, and I'm hearing what I've heard is a lot of times, well, it's based on, a lot of decisions going to be, for prosecution, is going to be based on my personal perception of what's going on, and a lot of times that seems to be a little bit flawed in the eyes of a lot of the taxpayers of Fayette County, the judicial circuit.
It's a concern anytime people feel like they're not being fairly treated by the judicial system. It really is. It's particularly a concern when they make good arguments that that's the case. It's a concern from a prosecution standpoint because you've got jurors who may be on the jury and they don't believe that the system is fair, and that makes it difficult for all of us to do our jobs. I think that the conferences that we've had have been helpful. I hope that they have. I think keeping an open dialogue is important, and I certainly want to continue to do that. But the approach, the only approach that I know to make to deciding matters with regard to cases is to take a colorblind approach and to give race no consideration whatsoever. And that's the approach that I've been trying to do, and I hope that I've been successful and willing to try to become more successful at it. If there are ways I need to improve.
You know, I'm very mindful and aware of that perception. Like I said, primarily because I've done this for 12 and a half years, and that's not a new issue. Race and how people are treated because of race is not a new issue. I've encountered that ever since I became a prosecutor, and it's something that I have been very mindful of. I've always worked in the community with all groups. And let me say this, I don't base my decisions on how to handle a case on my perception. I base it on facts. I base it on the facts of each individual case. I base it on the facts of the witnesses. My perception is not really relevant to the crime that's been committed and the facts in that case. You know, I may have an opinion about something, but my opinion is not what gets cases prosecuted. And I think what we have to do, and again, it goes back to education. Educating all of our prosecutors, all of our staff members, all of our law enforcement, and being involved in different groups like yourself, NAACP, and other groups in the community, so that we're aware and we keep talking about those perceptions. You can't stick your head in the sand and just act like they're not there. I know they're there, I'm aware of them, and I welcome any open discussion about them at any time.
Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm youth council advisor, and I've been down in the courts many, many times as a person to testify to character of various students. And we've had students that are in college that have been targeted where they've been driving with 2 or 3 people in the car. Is there a rule of thumb that you use to measure in law enforcement to determine what would be an affiliation as far as gangs? Is there a 3 in number and that kind of stuff? We've been hearing rumors like this, and more than likely that would cause a child to be, you know, either accused or targeted. And we want to prevent profiling to all extremes. But is there some measure that is used in law enforcement to determine what constitutes a gang? Because I keep hearing you talk about gangs, and you know I'm an advocate of getting kids to do the right thing. And programs and services is where we're trying to proceed, and even a why in this area, which is really needed. So I just need a question from both, the answer from both of you on that.
Sure. Ms. Jones, first of all, let me say how I appreciate what you're doing at the front end, trying to get kids involved in things that would put them on the right path. What I'm trying to do on the other end is to give them the incentive to listen to you and to do what you say, because if they don't, then of course there are bad consequences to breaking the law. To answer your question, statute defines gangs to be a group of 3 or more people who are involved in criminal activity. and the sole purpose of the organization is to commit crimes. That's the reason that we prosecute them so heavily. They're not organizations that occasionally stumble into crime. They're organizations whose sole purpose is to break the law. And yes, there are criteria that law enforcement use to sort out instances and to distinguish between people who are in gangs and people who are not. And it's only when we can prove that somebody's a member of a gang and that they're committing a crime in furtherance of the gang that we can have the additional penalties that the gang statute allows us to use.
As I understood your question, you were asking about 3 individuals in a vehicle, okay? You're talking about 2 different issues as I take your question, racial profiling and gang activity. Yes, Mr. Ballard is correct in that there are criteria that are outlined consisting of 3 or more people committing a criminal enterprise, okay? That is correct. But with respect to racial profiling, there's no law that says you can't have 3 teenagers, 3 black males at 2 o'clock in the morning riding down the road. You can stop them. That's not what the law says. There's, racial profiling should never occur. It absolutely should never occur. And if that is happening, it's wrong. Okay, I commit to you that should not be happening. Now, but that in and of itself, you've got to separate the issues. Racial profiling is a completely different aspect from looking at gang activity. If you have three young people that are together, dressed similarly, they're using gang signs, and they are committing a crime, then I think it's appropriate to start looking at the gang statute.
Okay, thank you very much. You've heard from our candidates for District Attorney, and let's give them a hand. There was one other thing. Everybody wanted to know, don't y'all go to battle up there now. Everybody wanted to ask each of you to ask each other a question. So, whether you want to stand up and do it, we have 5 minutes.
Actually, in deference to the others, I think I'm going to pass.
Okay, thank you.
I'll pass as well.
Okay, thank you very much.